first image is of a coral snake. Survival of the fittest is associated with non-survival of the unfittest. Here's some different examples. This is Jen, ASMR. Subscribe before you fall asleep. Hi there, my lovely sleepy squirrels. I hope that you are all well. In this video, I'm just gonna be making some sounds of this book, tapping lightly, tracing, a bit of reading, flicking through the pages. This is the Natural History of Animals that I picked up thrifting a few years ago, specifically to make an ASMR video. It's been already in one or two just as like the haul or just random book sounds or something, I think. But today I have a little time, so I just want to sit and just have a proper look at it. So, if you don't already know, I live in France, have done for almost 20 years. I am Scottish, and over here in France you can get some books in English, but often I will need to buy them on Amazon, which I'm not like super excited about. But when you're thrifting, sometimes there are a few little books in English. It's really exciting. Something that I kind of changed everything for me was getting a Kindle, so I'm able to get the English versions of the ebooks pretty easily, and a lot cheaper than like buying English books from abroad and that sort of thing. But yeah, so I'm always happy when I find an English book while I'm thrifting. This is obviously a pretty old one. A little damaged, but I don't mind. It's very pretty. How pretty is that cover? It's like fabric that's been embossed, and like the ink has been printed. This gorgeous print on the front is just divine. These peacocks, very stylized peacocks. I think before we start like reading and flicking through and stuff, I might just spend a few minutes making just some lovely book sounds. No talking. What does it say? It's pretty dusty. The Natural History of Animals, number 4. There was no 1 to 3 to be seen. The Grisham Publishing Company. Okay, so if you just want to see inside and have a little read with me, feel free to skip ahead. Timestamps are down below. Otherwise, enjoy the book sounds. now that we're hopefully nice and relaxed, I just wanted to show you how cute on the side there's like a peacock from the front this time. Very cute. I wonder if the other volumes like 1, 2, and 3 have the same cover and stuff, or if this is like a specifically about the birds kind of thing. So the first pages are black. Well, not so black anymore, but not too bad. The natural history of animals, and it was €5. Marked up here. I don't know if I paid 5, I maybe paid 4 or something. Sometimes they bring the price down. If something's been there for a while and it's like meh. Or if you get a bunch of stuff at the same time. And here it says €40. And then I think it says cis or cis, Liz. I don't know. But it was €40 at some point. Somebody was selling it for 14. The coral snake. Our first images of a coral snake. I don't think I've ever seen a snake in the wild. And I've rarely seen snakes in general. I had a friend that had 2 snakes when I was younger, but I didn't really approach much. And in Scotland and in France, it's not like we're outrun with snakes. In zoos and stuff. Oh, I did see a whole bunch of huge snakes at Alligator Bay. There were many, many snakes, but it was like in a zoo setting. Oh look, it's got one of those really thin, like smaller, like almost like Bible pages. There. The coral snake, Laps coriolanus. This virulently poisonous serpent inhabits South America and the West Indies. It is a good instance of a vertebrate exhibiting warning coloration. See plate 7. Is this plate 7? 1901 by T.F. I think Mouchet. I don't know, Mukhtar. It takes no pains to conceal itself and is rendered exceedingly conspicuous by rings of bright and sharply contrasting color. Carnivorous animals appreciating snakes as an article of diet have learned to leave this form severely alone, though no doubt a certain number fall victims to inexperienced enemies, thus benefiting the species in an expense of the individual. At the expense of the individual, sorry. Nice picture. From 1901. The natural history of animals. The animal life of the world in its various aspects and relations by J.R. Ainsworth Davies, or Davis, M.A. Trinity College, Cambridge, Professor in the University of Wales and Professor of Zoology and Geology in University College, Aberystwyth, somewhere in Wales. Half volume, number 4. London, the Grisham Publishing Company, 34 Southampton Street, Strand. The food of animals continued. The food of animals, omnivorous, annelids, siphon worms, lamp shells, moss, polyps, and wheel. Animal defenses, passive defense, special precautionary habits, active defense, bodily characteristics. Animal respiration, the breath of life. It's all interesting. That's it. That's all we got. And the list of illustrations. Noted them. What's that? Part of sea urchin test showing knobs for attachment of spines. 340. Interesting. More illustrations. Should we just go to where there are illustrations, maybe? We've got like the little illustrations in here. This is a group of serpulae. Two individuals are projecting from their tubes. Here and here, respectively. Here we have a dissection from above a front end of an earthworm. Ooh. It has a brain, a buccal pouch, or buccal pouch, pharynx, gullet pouch, lime glands, crop, gizzard, and intestine. Siphon worms, not so much my thing. Moss polyps. Crown rotifer, an enlarged crown rotifer. Not really my thing. The food of animals, omnivorous, echinoderm sponges, animals which feed like green plants. That is a vertical section of simple sponge. I think I'm more interested in the protection part rather than the food part. Yeah, I think they all must have birds on the front because there's no birds in here. Animal defenses. This is more interesting. Considerable space having just been devoted to the question of food and feeding, it may prove interesting to briefly review the chief ways in which animals evade or escape. Oh, I don't think it's centered, sorry. Evade or escape from the attacks of more powerful and more destructive forms. Protective devices are numerous and often very elaborate, but none of them attain more than partial success. For the evolution of some particular line of defense is sure to be associated with methods of offense which neutralize its value to a greater or less extent. Yeah, I can imagine. I quite like this. Let's read a little bit more of this. Extent. An instructive analogy is found in the arts of war, where attack and defense develop side by side. Any advance in one quickly leading to corresponding progress in the other. In war, the penalty of inadequate defense is defeat. Among animals, it has often led to gradual decrease in numbers, frequently resulting in complete extinction, which is, of course, the most ignominious kind of failure in the struggle for existence. Survival of the fittest is associated with non-survival of the unfittest. As we shall have occasion to note elsewhere, there are many unfavorable elements to be combated in this struggle. though we are here concerned only with defense against predaceous forms on the lookout for a meal. But herbivorous species have not only to meet this kind of discreet attack, no direct attack, but also to cope with other species which live on the same kind of food, of which only a limited quantity is commonly available, and unfavorable conditions of climate, etc. Or it says and sea. Have also to be taken into consideration. In discussing defense measures, it is difficult, if not impossible, to avoid language which seems to attribute conscious effort or knowledge on the part of this or that kind of animal. But under a great many of the headings employed, such as precautionary measures and passive defense, the defense is of purely unconscious kind and has been determined by evolutionary factors working irrespective of the will or knowledge of the animal. Even when an animal actively defends itself against attack, it does not follow that it has any clear idea of what the aggressor is after, though it must be admitted that the latter is more clearly cut ideas on the subject. The following scheme will perhaps serve to illustrate the main principles of animal defense in the limited sense indicated above, and it will be followed by detailed description and illustrative instances, though space forbids anything like a complete review of the animal kingdom under each heading. Okay, so precautionary measures under this heading will be grouped. Those various defensive measures which tend to obviate attack altogether. And these fall pretty naturally under bodily characteristics and mode of life habits. Bodily characteristics, these may be considered insofar as they result in A. Inconspicuousness, B. Conspicuousness. The first is obvious and the other will be clear after explanation. 2. Mode of life. Defense may be promoted by A. Feeding at favorable times, B. Feeding in favorable places. Supposing, however, that attacks are actually delivered, their intention may be frustrated by means falling under a second large heading. Resistance. This may take the form of either A. Passive defense or B. Active defense. Passive defense. This may be affected by 1. Bodily characteristics, or by 2. Special habits, and not infrequently both contribute to the efficiency of the resistance offered. There is also 3. Fecundity as a defense measure. Fecundity, I don't know what the word is. 1. Bodily characteristics. Of these, perhaps the most important are A. Unpalatableness and indigestibility, resulting from various peculiarities. B. Possession of armor, as purely defensive arrangements may be broadly termed. 2. Special habits, example, as the death feigning instinct, rolling up instinct. 3. Fecundity, I don't know, as a means of defending the species. What is that? Active defense. This implies the method of counterattack and includes, among other things, 1. Use of ordinary aggressive weapons. 2. Use of actively defensive weapons such as stings, stink glands, etc. 3. Cooperation for defensive purposes between members of a community. An attacked animal, however, may be unfitted to offer either active or passive defense, or may reserve its resistance and in both these cases commonly endeavours to effect its escape. This may be considered under a third main heading, retreat. It is scarcely necessary to tabulate the various ways in which this is effected. By different form, many animals are possessed of great running powers, others can burrow rapidly, and so on. The existence of dwellings or refuges is often a great help to retreat, which may also be assisted by various special devices. It must, of course, be understood that there are no sharp lines of separation between animals which employ different modes of defense, for some species may fall under more than one heading, and even those which in the first instance attempt to retreat may nevertheless offer a determined resistance should they be overtaken by their foes, for example deer and poisonous snakes. And precautionary measures, bodily characteristics. I'm just going to read this one still, because it's going back to the beginning. Precautionary measures, bodily characteristics, arrangements which bring about inconspicuousness. A particular kind of animal may be possessed by peculiarities of form or structure, or both, in virtue of which it harmonizes so well with the surroundings that detection by an enemy becomes a different matter. But to recap the full benefit of this, a form so protected must remain perfectly motionless, as the least movement may at once destroy the illusion. And since movement is absolutely necessary to a great majority of animals, the protective arrangements now to be described are much less effective than might at first sight be imagined. Aggressive animals would die out altogether if their prey gradually evolved into a perfectly protected condition, and such a state of things can never be realized. Suppose a species A to feed upon other species B, C, and D, then as these develop characteristics which make them more and more difficult to detect, A will keep pace more or less with this by improvement of its sense organs and powers of observation, besides which it does not follow that a protective form which deceives the eye will necessarily deceive other senses, such as that of smell. This, however, is a matter which still requires working out, for most attention has so far been paid to arrangements which may metaphorically be called optical illusions, and again, even if B, C, and D succeeded in evading the pressing attentions of A altogether, that species might be enabled to divert its energies in some other direction. Protective resemblance, as arrangements tending to inconspicuousness may be called, may either be general, so as to harmonize with the color scheme, illumination, etc. of the surroundings, or they may be special, so as to bring about an imitation of some particular object, as a twig or leaf. It will be convenient to consider these separate cases, or cases separate. General protective resemblance, transparency, talking about different animals, Transparency, like in the sea, could be pretty good. Sea snails, different things, jellyfish, snow animals here. So transparency first, snow animals, desert animals. Let's do snow animals. Snow animals. Another striking and well-known instance of general resemblance to surroundings is afforded by snow and ice animals, which by possession of white fur or feathers are rendered extremely inconspicuous. Mammals and birds furnish a number of striking examples. It is a rare occurrence of an animal to be white all year round, for this can only be expected to happen in very high latitudes, where the ground is permanently covered by snow and ice. The polar bear is an instance, but the color in this case is almost entirely aggressive, enabling the animal to approach its prey without attracting observation. Of course, among birds, the snowy owl, and then there's the Latin name, of the Arctic regions, which sometimes wanders into the southern latitudes, for example, North Scotland, is permanently colored so as to harmonize with snowy surroundings. Its prevailing hue is white, but this may be flecked or barred with blackish brown, though in the main aggressive in purpose. The owl is doubtless protected to some extent by its resemblance to the background against which it is usually seen in the far north and desert animals. Animal defenses. Pallas sand grouse, native to the steppes of Asia. So these fit into the desert animals. The common British sand lizard. Reversed shading. Flatfishes. You like the ones that are all flat on the ground. They can hide in the sand. General resemblance in eggs and young. Ooh, so they can hide their eggies. Birds and insects. Eggs of ringed plover. Crouching young of pewit and a beetle, which resembles lichen. It does, doesn't it? Masking. General protective resemblance to surroundings is affected in a number of animals belonging to widely different groups. It says upper side of a xenomorphosis shell. I was going to say snail, but it's shell. Variable general resemblance, color changing in snow animals. So like having a different color for the winter and the summer. Winter plumage. Color changing in amphibians. Frogs and the like. Color changing in fishes, chameleons, mollusks, crustaceans, insects. Special protective resemblance. For example, looking like an inedible object, like to look like a leaf and such. Australian seahorse. Looks like a plant, I guess. Hippocampus. Caterpillars of brimstone moth. In protective attitudes. Yeah, I can't tell. Is that? Yeah, there's the caterpillars. Hinder end of caterpillar of brimstone moth. Protecting their young by looking like branches. Spider. bodily characteristics producing conspicuousness, so warding off attacks, genuine warnings, warnings among lower forms, but one type case within the class of mammals is known in the person of the American skunk. The skunk, American skunk. I've never seen a skunk. I've never smelled a skunk. Thank goodness. Don't really have them here, I don't think. If we do, it's not like here. I'm sure we have them in Europe somewhere. All the different colors. Rattlesnakes, of course. Toad. Poisonous toad. Poisonous fish, mollusks, insects. Insects are quite colourful, aren't they? Arachnids, lower invertebrates. Okay, spurious warning or mimicry. So mimicry. A friar bird, right, mimicked by an oriole. It mimics an entirely different bird, not just the sounds. But it was more just like sounds that they mimicked. Animal coloration. General protective resemblance, warning coloration, and mimicry. We have some different examples. Looking like stuff. Talking about other mimicry, grasshoppers, crickets, plants are bugs. Oh, hi guys. Some bird faces and some monkey faces, lizards, fish. What do we got here? Okay, animal defenses, special precautionary habits, feeding at favorable times, nocturnal animals. Okay, so the hawk owl is number 1 here. Nocturnal, number 1. Looks like, you know, the padding of like big earphones. That size. Number 2, an owl parrot. It's not the cutest of birds, is it? Owl parrot. Number 3, a slow lemur. Hello, slow guy. Slow lemur. Number 4, a spectre tarsier. This tiny little guy. This one here is big eyelashes. Number 5, the night monkey. Kind of looks a bit like a pug on the side there. Just gonna shorten off his nose a little pug. Number 6 is an Egyptian jerboa. Where's 6 here? Almost like a little gerbil type thing. It's quite cute. 7, a wall gecko. 8, a flying frog. It looks very sleek. And 9, a phosphorescent sardine. Cute. Okay, so eating at night, nocturnal, hippos. Are hippos nocturnal? Don't think so. Many of the feed at night, it would seem, for the sake of thereby lessening the chance of attack, but also in order to avoid heat and flies. Its habit is particularly well developed in the case of certain forms which affect damp surroundings and wooded country, of which good examples are afforded to hippopotami, tapirs, swine, and some kinds of deer, and Cape buffaloes. They all eat at night. Did not know that. Marsupials, koalas, and wombats. powerful kangaroos feed by day, while the rapacious daisirs and the Tasmanian wolf prey at night on weaker animals. Interesting. Feeding at favorable times. Diurnal animals. So they eat in the day. Is that just like, because we don't really see that very often, just like the opposite of nocturnal? I don't know. Giraffes, antelopes, goats, sheep, kangaroos, and ostriches serve as examples. Animals protected by feeding in suitable places. So be careful and actually go up trees and things like that to keep safe. Is that what it's about? Yeah. Parachute animals. Certain climbing forms have developed folds of skin, converting them into what may be termed parachute animals. That way they can get away pretty quick. Underground animals. Certain marine animals which have gained protection by migrating to new feeding grounds. Earthworms, certain adult insects, mole crickets, etc. And many insect larvae, cockchafer grubs. An unfortunate name for them. Floating aquatic forms like plankton, deep water life. Yeah, they're safe from us anyway, if they're deep in the water. The Nile crocodile, 2 scutes covered by horny epidermal plates. Their spikiness. Diagram of varieties of reptilian armor as seen in section A. Granular scales. B. Flat scales or shields. C. Overlapping scales. And D. The same with underlying bony plates. Oh yeah, there. Hard outer layer of epidermis, deeper layer of epidermis, dermis, and bony plates. That's pretty defensive there. Passive defense. Bodily characteristics of use in passive defense. Tortoise. Isn't it crazy? Sometimes sometimes I'm surprised when I think about the fact that the tortoise's shell is it's not his home. He's not like in there. That's his bone structure is like around the shell. It's not like, I remember being so weirded out when I found that out for the first time. Method of growth in gastropod shells. How they grow. So yeah, like the whoop shell. A spiny sea snail. Different ones. Worms. Tubes of various kinds. The northern stone crab. Yeah, they're pretty spiky. Just crabs in general are pretty spiky, aren't they? Oh yeah, sea urchin. Ooh, imagine standing on one of those. Just stepping on one as you're in the sea. That freaks me out. By social habits, the rolling up habit. I like playing dead. Rolling up if you're like a spiky little ball. Death feigning habits. So acting like you're dead so they think you might have gone bad. So they won't eat you because you're not alive, so they might get sick. If you know what I mean. A species of South American fox. Hey. What are you? Dingo. Australian dingo. Okay. They are death feigning. Dingo dogs. Lizards. Okay. Fecundity. I have no idea what that word means. I should look it up, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna try and decide from here. Many comparatively defenseless animals are extraordinarily fertile. Oh, like being fertile, like fecund. Okay. And this may be looked upon as a special means of defense for the species, which might otherwise become extinct. Okay, I get it. So just like, yeah, rodents, just pure numbers. Getting you through it. Just pure numbers. Animal defenses. Active defense against enemies. Aggressive weapons. Defensive weapons. Actively defensive weapons. I don't know what they mean by that. Teeth and claws, for example. Poisonous fangs. Jellyfish with their stingers. Canines. All sorts. Rhino horns. Elephant tusks, etc. The fallow deer. Oh, so pretty. Why are deer so pretty? Fallow deer appear to be native to the districts adjoining the Mediterranean, whence they have been introduced into our own and other countries. They may be taken as a type of those even-toed hoofed animals which ruminate or chew the cud. In all such creatures, the stomach is complex and the food is at first swallowed without much preparation, being afterwards returned into the mouth for more thorough mastication. This particularly is associated with unusual powers of locomotion, and it is probable that rumination was evolved as a protective measure. It enables a large amount of food to be rapidly taken in, after which the animal can retire to a place of security where the process of digestion may be completed at leisure. The antlers of the fallow deer are of bony nature and are shed annually. As in most creatures of the deer kind, they are present only in the males, and though they constitute very efficient defensive weapons, their chief use is in relation to the fierce combats which take place between the bucks during the season of courtship. Yeah, they're for show. Otherwise, the females would have them too. They're so pretty, aren't they? Pretty deer. Like their little spotted backs. Oh, they've got different ones. Number one is a Gazella Samaringi male. Sorry. This is just like different names of different types. They're like Latin names. I'm not going to misread them for you. So horns, of course. As defenses. Poisonous Mexican lizard. Sharp spines on their backs. And one on each gill cover. Their spines. There's a little gill covers. Spines on tail of an eagle ray. Dorsal spine. Poisonous bags. Gross. Oh, poisonous bags under their spines. Sting of a bee. Oh, look, there's a sting of a bee from the inside. On the left, one of the piercers is shown in side view, much enlarged. On the right, a cross section through the sting, very very high, magnified, of course. The director, on the upper side of which are two ridges, along which the two piercers slide. Okay. So all of their spiky and stingy things. They're nettling. Retreat is a passive defense. To fight another day. Baboons retreating from wild dogs. I would have expected baboons to dominate wild dogs, but the chamois is the chamois. Oh, their little coats. Cute coats. Like mountain goats. The common squirrel. The dodo. The dodo itself. Large and clumsy looking species. The dodo used to walk around and take the sun and air. The sun yet warms his native ground. The dodo is not there. That voice that used to squawk and squeak is now forever dumb. Yet may you see his bones and beak all in the museum. Slung suspended by the thread of hardened slime. Gross. That's something slugs are just, I hate slugs. I hate when slugs get in the house. In French they're called limaces. I think that's even, it's better. Slugs. Limaces. Just even their names are gross. They leave those slimy trails. I hate them so much. It's not so bad here where we live. In our last house, there was an area of the house that just quickly got slugs for some reason. Okay. And breathing, their respiration, how they breathe. Should we leave it at that? I might just flick through and see if there are a few images to look at maybe. I don't think I'll read about their breathing. Their midbrain. Twixt brain, forebrain, cerebral hemisphere, front part of a chick embryo. It does look like, when the babies, when human babies are tiny, like little blobs. Gill pouches. How the fish are breathing. I mean, it's interesting, but it's not. Sharks. I know sharks need to keep moving. That's the only thing I feel like I know about that. It's about, yeah, sharks need to keep moving. Sea cats. They look cool. They look designed. Yeah, I think gills are quite interesting. Ooh, mollusks. Head-footed mollusks. I might actually be interested in that another time, just maybe not today. And then I guess mammals, not that interesting because you just kind of already know because they're like us, mostly. Yay, here we are. Yeah. It's quite interesting in general, isn't it? I quite like this book. I don't know if I would ever just sit and read from A to Z, but was nice. I do like nature programs and stuff like that, but I rarely read about that kind of stuff. Unless I'm like interested in a specific thing, like I'm like, oh, how does that thing do that? And then I'll go and look it up. But it's not something I would like read for leisure. Instinctively anyway. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you found it relaxing and a little interesting. Maybe you learned just a little detail about an animal. Just a tiny little detail of something and went, oh, okay, I get it. Of course. Just one little thing. And if not, I hope you just enjoyed the relaxing reading, the book sounds. If you would like any more reading content from me, I have some playlists on my channel. They're not up to date, but there are a few that you could search. And I actually do some reading content over on Patreon. We have a book club. I read the blurbs of the books that we choose in little videos every month. And I'm reading one of the Bill Bryson books, chapter by chapter, too. Kind of like this, very like casual, like chatting kind of thing, not like an audiobook style. So you could pop over to Patreon if you're interested. And you can either become a patron for €3 per month, get your sleepy shout out, things like that, or you can just follow me. Patreon have recently opened up to a more like social media style, so you can just follow people and have a feed and stuff. You don't need to pay for that. So yeah, that'll be linked down below. Okay. So if you made it to this point in the video without falling asleep, I would like you to pop some animals in the comments, whichever emoji you like. Anything that we discussed, a snake, a deer, koala, bird, whatever you like. You can just pop that in with your regular comment. Let me know if you enjoyed this video and you would like to see similar videos in the future. Should I come back to this one and read some other things in here? Let me know. But if you are far too sleepy, you can just pop that little emoji in there by itself. I'll know you made them. I'll see your support. Thank you. So, I hope that every single one of my lovely, lovely sleepy squirrels are well. Wherever you are in the world, whatever's happening around you, I hope can find your own little bubble of calm. For example, if you are in Vaasa in Finland, like my lovely patron Sanna. Hey Sanna, I hope you're well. Thank you for all of your lovely support. And I hope that you all have a lovely